All right, let's get into it. We're not just talking about SAP today. We're actually laying out the blueprint for building modern, fast, and yes, beautiful applications. If you've ever looked at a classic SAP screen and thought, there's got to be a better way, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. So, let's be honest for a second. Is your SAP experience feeling a little stuck in the past? Yeah, we've all been there. Staring at those classic SAP screens. I mean, they're incredibly powerful for sure, but man, they can be dense and complicated. If you've ever just wished for a simpler, more intuitive way to get things done, well, you're not alone. And the good news is that future is already here, and today we're going to build it. And boom, this slide really says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the past. On the right, you've got the future. And that future is called SAP Fiori. Fiori is way more than just a pretty face. It's a total game changer. It's all about taking those super complex processes and breaking them down into simple, easy-to-use apps that are designed for specific roles. And the best part? They work great on any device. Think about the business impact here. We're talking about way higher user adoption and seriously cutting down on training time. Okay, so Section 1, the new face of SAP. Let's get our heads around Fiori. So to really get this, I want you to think about our application like it's a restaurant. If that's the case, then Fiori is the beautifully designed dining room. It's the clean, simple menu you give your guests. It is their entire first impression, their whole front-end experience. And right at the heart of this whole experience is something called the Fiori Launchpad. Really, it's just a single homepage for everything a person needs to do their job. So you can forget about jumping between different systems or trying to remember all those crazy transaction codes. With this, everything they need is organized and literally just a click away. All right, so let's peek inside the Fiori Launchpad and see what makes it tick. We'll look at the building blocks, and sticking with our restaurant idea, you can think of these as the key ingredients we use to build a personalized menu for every single person. Okay, it really just boils down to three main concepts. First up, the catalog. Imagine this is the restaurant's giant master cookbook. It has every single recipe, every possible dish we could ever make. Then you have the group. Now, this is like the curated menu you'd give to a specific diner, showing them only the dishes they'd be interested in. And finally, you've got the tile. That's the individual dish on the menu, just sitting there, waiting to be ordered. And here's a tile right here. The real beauty of this whole system is just how simple it is. This little tile is the gateway. So instead of having to navigate some crazy complex transaction screen, the user just clicks on a simple, clear label like Display Supplier Invoice. See? Each tile is all about one single focused task, which just makes their job so much easier. Fiori is also unbelievably flexible. Of course, it supports all the modern stuff. You've got your transactional apps for day-to-day tasks, and you've got these powerful analytical apps for real-time dashboards and reporting. But here's the kicker, and this is what makes it so powerful. It can also bring in the old stuff. We're talking classic SAP GUI screens, legacy WebDynPro apps. It brings everything, the new and the old, together into one seamless, unified experience. That's huge. All right, so we've got our beautiful dining room and our perfect menu all set up. But where does the food, the data, actually come from? Well, that brings us to the back of the house, the kitchen. And in our world, the kitchen is our custom OData service. This is the engine that's going to cook up and serve the exact data our Fiori app is asking for. So we're going to build this kitchen in a really modern, lightweight way. We're not using the old school, traditional code generation tools. No, we're going to do this in a way that gives us total control. It's a 5-step process, and it really all comes down to using two super powerful standard classes that SAP gives us right out of the box. Okay, step 1. We need a chef, and our chef is this, the Resource Provider class. All we have to do is create a new class that inherits from the standard CLL resource class. By doing that, our new class instantly gets all the basic cooking skills it needs. This is where our actual business logic, the real recipe for our data, is going to live. And step 2, this is where the magic really happens. Inside the right method, whether it's a get for reading data or a post for creating it, this is where we write our ABAP logic. Now, don't get bogged down in the specific code on the screen. The main thing to get is that this is the spot where our chef gets the order from the Fiori app, does all the work, and cooks up the exact data response that's needed. Okay, step 3. Every great kitchen needs a manager, right? Someone to run the show. Well, that's our resource handler class. We just create a new class that inherits from CL_REST HTTP handler. And here's the important part. This class doesn't do any of the cooking itself. Its only job is to take the incoming order from the front end and make sure it gets to the right chef. Now, this next part, step 4, is absolutely crucial. This is the connection that makes everything work. Inside our Kitchen Manager class, we use a method called attach. And what this piece of code does is it links a specific URL path, say something like /invoices, directly to our chef class. This is exactly how the system knows which chunk of code to run when a request comes in for that specific URL. It's the glue holding it all together. And finally, step 5. It's time to open for business. We just hop into a transaction SICF, create a new service node, and in the handler list, we point it to our Kitchen Manager, that resource handler class we just made. We click Activate, and that's it. Just like that, our custom kitchen is live, the doors are open, and it's ready to start serving data. Okay, but let's be real, modern apps don't live on an island, right? They're not in a silo. What happens if a recipe needs a special ingredient that we just don't have in our own pantry? What if we need data from a shipping provider, or a live currency exchange service, or some other cloud app? Well, that's what this next section is all about, connecting SAP to the rest of the world by calling external APIs. So before we jump in, let's just make sure we're on the same page with 2 key terms. First, a REST API. Don't let the name scare you. It's just a set of rules that lets different computer systems talk to each other over the web. That's it. And an endpoint. That's even simpler. It's just the specific web address, the URL, where we go to talk to that API. All right, so the very first thing we have to do inside SAP is go to transaction SM59. I like to think of this as our system's main address book. And in here, we're going to create what's called a type G connection. That G just stands for HTTP connection to an external server. Basically, all we're doing here is saving the address and contact info for our external data supplier. And listen, before you even think about writing a single line of code, you have to do this. Test the connection. If everything's working, you'll get back a status HTTP response 200. That 200 OK message is basically the universal green light for web communication. It's the confirmation that the phone line to your external supplier is open and working perfectly. Don't skip this step. So once you've got that green light, the ABAP code itself follows a really clear logical pattern. First, you use the create by destination method to create a client object using that address book entry we just made. Then you might need to set some security tokens or other info in the header. After that, you add your data, the JSON payload, to the request body. Then you just send it off, the other system does its thing, and then you receive the response. And finally, you read the data from that response. It's pretty much the same standard, repeatable flow for talking to any external system out there. Okay, let's take a step back and put all of these pieces together. We've designed the dining room, we've built our custom kitchen, and we've even set up the phone lines to our external ingredient suppliers. We now have the complete blueprint for a truly modern SAP application. So here it is. This is the whole picture, the complete formula. You have Fiori, which is the clean, modern user interface that people will actually enjoy using. Then you have our custom OData service, which acts as this super flexible data bridge to all our core SAP data. And finally, you have API calls, which give us a secure connection to literally any external system in the world. And when you put those 3 things together, that's when you get a modern, fully integrated SAP solution. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. With what we've just walked through, you now have the blueprint. The blueprint to totally transform the user experience for your company, to build powerful and flexible data services from the ground up, and to connect your core SAP system to any other platform you can possibly imagine. Look, this wasn't just theory, right? This is a practical, hands-on guide to building the next generation of enterprise apps. The tools are there, the pattern is crystal clear. So really, the only question left to ask is, now that you have the blueprint, what are you going to build?